When I was younger, my dad would always tell me, if a man loses two things, he is finished: his iman and his family. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Lies They Tell podcast. This is episode 11. And as I start every single episode, for all of my returning viewers, I hope you and yours are in good health. I hope you're protecting your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul. And for my first time viewers, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to be kept updated with everything I do, make sure to hit that bell notification. Today's episode is going to be a little different. I got a handful of people, like-minded, intellectual, and educated individuals of the Somali community. Me myself being a Somali and being a Muslim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Um, I wanted us to sit down and talk about a topic that I felt like was impacting us. Right? This is the Lies They Tell podcast. The entire purpose behind this podcast is that we dispel any fallacies that anybody, whether it be society, big business, they, them, whoever tries to impose on us, and we just get the truth out there. We can't make you believe anything. We are not here to try to force you to believe anything or try to change your mind, only for you to know the truth. With that said, I have amazing people here with me that I've gotten to know over the course of several months: Prince, Dhalad, Love in general, and myself. And we're basically here today to talk about the single parent household. So before I start that though, I just want to say what's up to everybody. Prince, Dhalad, Love, General, how you guys doing?
We're
Alhamdulillah.
doing great, Wada. Alhamdulillah,
I'm doing good
alhamdulillah.
now.
Good,
Thanks for inviting us.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here and taking part in this. It means a lot to me. Um, Really quickly, I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. I don't want to take any more of your time at home, the ones viewing this on YouTube. Um, we're using the app Clubhouse, as you guys can see. So what I wanted to talk about today, guys, and you guys have, I told you guys ahead of time already, was the single parent household in our community. I feel like it's becoming an issue. It has been becoming an issue for quite some time now. Um, I think that in general, people have we have a tendency in our community, wallahi billahi, as Somali people, we have a tendency to, when we see something wrong, when we see something that we don't want to talk about, we sweep it under the rug. And we tend to ignore issues, we tend to ignore problems that essentially come back to bite us in the butt and affect our entire community, all because we don't know how to deal with them. Or maybe because culturally, we don't have any solutions because we haven't dealt with this historically, right? But now that we're in the West, and now we're in a different element, we're in a different environment, we are exposed to a different culture, right? We start to adapt and we start to assimilate like any humans do. And with adapting and with assimilating, we start to take on the characteristics of whatever society we've become part of. And so, divorce, although has not always been something that was practiced widely in back home, even to this day, right? It is something that is being practiced here in the West, right? And that divorce affects two people who have fallen in love, wanted to start a life together and start a family together, and then now feel like they no longer can be good to one another. You know what I mean? And we don't have any control of that. We don't have control of two people feeling like this is not the best situation for me. Two adults at that, right? But then you move a little forward, then you start to see the product of that divorce, which is those children. The children, how are they affected? How is how does it affect their relationship with their parents? How does it then go from being a home, a broken home, to now being a broken community? So I want to open up the stage to anyone that wants to, just kind of briefly tell me what they think about it, and then inshallah ta'ala, we'll just go from there because I don't want to, ramble you guys' ear off. You guys are all adults. I know you guys all have your own opinions and you see this all differently. Um, to Juba and Asha, I'm not going to be sending any requests to come on stage. This is replay on stage, and it will be going to my YouTube channel. You're more than welcome to raise your hand and be a part of the conversation, and you're more than welcome to stay and listen if you're not comfortable with that. So I leave the stage for you guys. Prince, Dhalad, Love, General.
Well, do you want to start since you are, you know,
Yeah,
No, Kusa. Go ahead, Kusa.
yeah. So I think, one thing I've noticed in the home, first and foremost, and I think a lot of us don't consider, right? Just based on personal experiences of what I've seen, just in other people's homes, in my home at times, I think that we tend to have, we're a little bit more loose with two people arguing, right? Because I really want to start with the root start of this, the cause of this, right? Where it begins. Because two people just don't go from, love to not, the little bit of problems, issues back and forth, right? And then one thing we do, and one thing I've seen, I should say, and I don't want to generalize all Somali couples this way. I don't want to generalize all Somali parents this way, right? But in general, from what I've seen, my experiences, we tend to talk freely to one another in front of children. And wallahi al-adim, one thing I've realized, bro, is that children notice everything. They read everything. They understand better than we think they understand. A lot of times they see problems that we don't even know exist. But we look at these children, instead of looking at them as humans who are just smaller, we look at them as mindless zombies almost. They don't know, they don't understand. They may not understand to the capacity we understand, but they understand to their own capacity, right? And this is what I mean. So, laba khof markay isdirran, right? When two people are arguing, fussing, and fighting in front of each other, imagine if the dad is being disrespectful to the mom. Now, imagine that dad is a very good father, meaning to his children, he does no wrong. He loves his children. He is present for in his children's lives. He's picking them up from school, taking them to soccer practice, all the things that a good father should do. But he's being disrespectful to the mom. Those children aren't going to look at him and say, well, dad is bad to mom, but he's good at us. They're going to look at him and say, dad is bad to mom. This is just reality. At the end of the day, like, you know, you have to understand to some extent, it's like, how can you love me, but you can't love the person that I came from, the person who birthed me, right? And I think this is a problem that a lot of men make in our community specifically, is that we kind of down talk the woman. We degrade our women, right? Our wives, the mother of our children. And now let's flip the roles. Let's say the mother is the one that's actually disrespectful to the father. And she could be the greatest mother in the world. But the mother isn't there. The children aren't going to see, like, hey, my mom is the greatest woman in the world. They're going to see, hey, my mom disrespects my dad. And my dad is my dad. I love him. How could she do that? Layla, this is, a replay on stage. You're more than welcome to come up. I'll send you a hand. But it is going to go on my YouTube, just so you know. And if you don't want to be a part of it and you just want to listen, I respect that. I'm by. But if you do want to be a part of it, please join us. Um, so so now, when the dad is the bad guy, the children look at him and say, dad is being mean to mom. When the mom is the bad person, right? The children look at mom and say, mom is being mean to dad. But what happens when the two parents are both going at each other's necks, right? Who do you think the children are going to blame? In my opinion, in my non-professional opinion, right? I am not a child psychologist. I haven't studied this, right? But I can tell you, just based off experience, those children are going to blame themselves. Those children are going to look at themselves and say, I have to be what's wrong. Because Hoyo is superwoman, right? Superwoman. Abo is super dad. They are great to me when they're apart. But when they're together and I'm with them, they're bad to each other. I have to be the issue. This is how a child thinks. The child doesn't reason the way that we reason. There's parts of this child's brain that hasn't developed yet. So when I look at it from the perspective of that child thinking to the best of that child's capabilities, and that child being able to rationalize and reason based on his or her own capacity at the level they're at, that child is not wrong. What happens when a child starts to blame themselves? from mom and dad not being happy with each other. These are the children that go from home and then they go out into the community and they become citizens, or either they become, you know, uh, 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 functioning members of society, but oftentimes they become non-functioning members because they started off the early stages of their life, the most important and impressionable part of their lives. They started off blaming themselves for their parents not being happy. So this child isn't going to be happy with themselves. This child is not going to go into the world thinking, hey, I can do anything I set my mind to. You look at the Somali community today, where I live in Minnesota, I have seen more teenagers get buried for drug overdoses. Somali teenagers, might I add, that come from households similar to mine and some of you on this stage. I've seen more teenagers get buried for gun violence and gang related activity than I've ever seen in my life. And I've lived in Minnesota for 4 to 5 years now. 4 to 5 years. In 4 to 5 years, I've seen more children get buried for drug overdoses and gang violence than I've ever seen in my entire life. This is not an issue that we just solve each and every one of us individually in our homes. This is my humble opinion. This is going to take and is going to require people like us, the 4 or 5 people on stage, even the audience members. It's going to take each and every one of us to acknowledge and actually come together at the table and to say, what do we do? And to first and foremost acknowledge that the problem exists and not sweep it under the rug like we have a tendency to do in our community. That's where I'll leave it. And before we get to the solutions part, I know, Dhalad, you were saying something earlier I really want to get into. You said, which part do you even want to talk about? You brought up a very beautiful point. When you said, okay, you want to talk about the single parent household, where do you want to start? Because it is such a broad and such a big situation. So, Dhalad, do you mind explaining that for us?
Wallahi aniga waxaan oran lahaa waxay tahay as a mother of two waxaan oran lahaa waxay tahay hooyooyinka qurbaha jooga, most of them they need to get education about how to raise and how to deal with the society that they live in, to be part of it, take the good thing from them, leave the bad part, because your kids are living with them, your kids are dealing with them, and you don't want them to say to you tomorrow, the mommy, you're embarrassing me. And most of the parents that I have seen it, when it comes to education schools, they don't communicate with the teachers. I don't know. Is it because they do know the language? I'm not gonna say they don't know the language. They do know the language, but somehow they raise the kids same as back home. Let the teachers handle. Teachers' responsibility to teach the kids. No, teacher gets paid. Teachers, they get paid. They don't care whether you learn something or not. So it's the parents' responsibility to learn that the kids growing in this Western world, you need to always communicate with the teachers, talk to them basically every day, send emails, find out what is the homework, how to help them, how to communicate with your child. If your child needs help, are they communicating with the teachers? So I would say that the parents need to focus more of communication when it comes to schools and educations, and so the child can feel that he has a backup. He or she has a backup, somebody to support them, help them if they need anything, so they can speak up.
I like that. So you're saying be a part of your children's life, not just at home, but be a part of their lives in every aspect.
Yeah, the parents, both parents, even if they get divorced, it doesn't matter. It's their responsibility. The father's responsibility, the mother's responsibility to communicate with the teachers, not only to feed them, drop them off at the school. No, communicate with them. What is their homework? What are they carrying in their bag? Who do they talk to? what happened in the class, who did they had a fight with, who made them mad, what did they had a fun day today. All these questions you need to ask the kids. Then they'll tell you everything what happened in the school, and that if they felt that they're not feeling comfortable around the teacher or the teacher is mistreating them, they can tell you.
I'll just give my 2 cents. Okay, I think that something that the Somali household or Somali parents or future Somali parents have to realize that when you are getting married, this is a first time experience, right? Nobody's known, nobody's born knowing everything. Everything is learned through experience, or you're taught. Somebody that with knowledge teaches you it, right? They give you advice, and you have to seek advice, right? So in terms of the a marriage for the Somali households, that communication is very important between the mother and the father. You know, doing things. Once kids are involved, right? Once offsprings are involved, you have to realize that it's no longer about you and your wife. You know, now you have a bigger responsibility on your shoulders, right? That you have an offspring who is you know uh is a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Is not a property. You don't own them. It's not your kid. This is amana. Amana is a trust, something that Allah gave you as a gift, but also is to test you with it. You have to nourish that, offspring, and prepare that offspring for the real world, right? Because the shaitan is in the real world. When the kid gets older, the shaitan, the society is getting worse and worse as time goes by. That's where the big fish and the sharks are, right? So as while the child is very innocent, very young, you have to prepare that child, right? And the only way you can prepare that child is if you are a great parent. And a great parent understands their children, does not raise all their children the same way, because every kid is unique. You know, the wrong thing about the Somali household is that they raise all their kids with the same ruling, no matter boy, girl, everything. The mothers are harsh on the daughters, and the kids and the boys are their baby to an extent. That's if the father's not present in the household, right? And if he is, you know, they're still neglected, right? So they're not getting that emotional composure. And they're not being. There's a void in the child, right? Kids. They make mistakes. They're going through life too, and they're excited. They have a lot of energy, and that's how I was when I was a kid. But some other households they don't take time to like really understand the differences between their kids, right? Some of them, some kids just love running around and being annoying. Some kids are quiet, and they like being they're just more polite. So it's, as a parent, you have to set the foundation for the household, right? You have to discipline them constantly. If they make mistakes, correct them again, correct them again, correct them again, until it becomes a habit. It's so sad to see that we're in countries where, for example, my mother, like when she was raising me and my older brother, right? She didn't know, like she was very young at the time. She was very harsh on us, right? She was more strict on us. But then with with my three younger siblings, she was like, "How can I understand these kids?" She was so confused. So what she did was she got this book called How to Be a Parent, like for Dummies, right? This is a book called How to Be a Parent for Dummies. So it dumbs it down to understand like the different personalities of your kid, try to understand the behaviors of the kids. So she did some effort, right, to try to understand her kids, and she didn't want to raise them the same way she raised me and my older brother. And as a result, like they have an amazing relationship. I have an amazing relationship with my mom, but with my younger siblings, they understand each other even more because from a young age, she gave them that nourishment and that motherly love that they deserved. Whereas for us, she was more harsh on us, and we even got spanked. But it's like she learned from her mistakes, and and she did what she had to do to raise us. And we have to appreciate our parents. It's not easy being a parent. I don't think so. You know, that's what I would say.
Yeah, appreciate it, Prince. And that's what I'm. Mel Adak Badik 10. Um, in general, feel free to jump in whenever, brother. This is my thing, right? And I want to know what happens, right? We spoke about the perspective of learning to communicate with our children, and learn to have communication with one another, right? Right now, when we look at, a single parent household, this is to say that two people were once happy with one another, they were married, and now they're not. So they're unhappy with each other to some extent, right? What happens when one of those parents, whether it be the father or the mother, starts to use their children as bargaining chips? Start to use those children as a way to say, you know what? I don't want you around these children. We've seen it. I've seen situations like that. I've witnessed it, right? Where people will literally prevent a parent their right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them to raise their child because they are upset with the other parent. And my thing is this, for you to literally keep a parent out of your children's lives, 50% of the, 50% of the equation for you to, keep them out of your children's life, you're cheating your children. عرورتها فائدة ومصوب معاون. You literally damage them because now you're presenting them with only 50% of what should make them happy or what could make them happy. At the end of the day, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, just a little quick background about me. I know I don't share a whole lot. My parents, my mom came here with seven of us before my father even got to the States. It wasn't until 7 years later that my dad got to the States. My mom had to be mom and dad for a long time because the oldest of us was probably 15 when we got here, and she was a girl. And the one after her was the one that was in Africa. And then there was another sister who was maybe 12, and I was 7. And the point I'm trying, and we had younger siblings. The point I'm trying to make is that no matter how great of a job my mom did, and Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, may Allah reward her, right? May Allah reward all of our mothers, right? At the end of the day, she could only do so much to play dad. She can't actually be dad. She could only really be mom. And how often do we see mom playing dad in our community? The thing is that, we have to pick, right? Once you're a parent and your marriage doesn't work out anymore, and now you have children involved in the circumstance, right? This is your situation. We have to pick, do my children and their experience with their household and them having both parents active in their lives matter, or is it my feelings about my ex-spouse that matters? Which one matters more? And which one am I willing to sacrifice? Wallahi billah, like it is very, very hurtful to see how many people are literally broken because of this. General, I don't know if you want to add something, brother. I don't want to.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna add a little bit. So first of all, Hawihan,
I'll be
this
back. Yeah,
is
I'll be
an
back.
amazing topic. No worries, actually. This is an amazing topic, and it needed to be spoken about. Marka niyahow, waxaan dhihi lahaa niyahow, horta, I don't believe if you're a single parent, does not mean that you don't have a lot of chance to survive. If you look at the history of a lot of the scholars, the righteous scholars, most of them, their parents, especially the father, their fathers died while they were 1 or 2, and they became what great scholars because of their mothers. And I believe the mother has the power to make the child a great child, or it could fail the child. Marka hooyooyinkeena waxa weeyaan in la dhiirigeliyo weeyaan. Also waxaan dhihi lahaa when it comes to children, the parents should not fight in front of the children. Magarat, even if they're arguing, like you spoke about before, the parents, when you come from a family that is stable, or how is love and there's a beautiful bond between, you start to as a male or as a female, when you grow and you become what you become and you marry, you start to follow those footprints and those footsteps your parents laid it out for you. Magarate. marka haddaad nin tahay haddaad gabar tahayba dee waxaad u dhaqanaysaa reerkaaga waxaad familkaaga ka aragtay. If your family was broken, meel isdagaalayo, you know, your mom had no respect to your father, that's how you're gonna treat your husband. You're gonna give him no respect. You know what I mean? If you didn't get love, you know what I mean? You're gonna have all these broken daddy issues. Ma garatay? So
100%.
waxaa fiican ciyaalka inaad jacayl lagu soo koriyo, stable family, markaas the next generation will bring a stable generation. Ma garatay? But a lot of the times I see I've seen so many people that their parents was they had a parent a violent father, you know what I mean, and the guy would do the same to his wife because that's what he's seen from his father. But if he saw a different, if the father was, you know, thought about it and said, look, my child, you know what I mean, I'm not giving him a good example, you know, markaas ilmaha wuu isbedeli lahaa. Ma garatay? Marka waalidku
And I want to add one thing before you go, bro. Like, not only if that son sees dad physically abusing mom, not only is he
yeah,
gonna grow up and abuse his wife, but the daughter is going to one day grow up and allow another man to abuse her because she's gonna think that's love,
exactly.
and she's gonna think it's
She's
okay.
gonna think she thinks that's the norm, you know. She thinks this is the عادي واحد because she's seen her mother go through this, and you know Somalis way iska xishood badan yihiin and way qarsanayaan wixii, and she thought her mom survived, so why not, you know what I mean? I should do the same. Marka we need to waxyaalahaas those stigmas iyo waxyaalahaas we need to abolish it, you know. And I believe we need to empower the sisters, you know. The mothers should learn the deen, because when you empower the mothers, that's when you raise a beautiful generation, a generation of aqidah or deen or listen or strong. The mother, the power of the mother is amazing. The rahim, which is what's inside the mother, it's so Ilahi trusted it with you know, with the mother. Marka waa very important way. Intaasaan ku darsan lahaa. And I love my mothers, the Somali sisters. Big up to them. Survivors weeyaan, like you said, akhi. You know, your mom came to this foreign land with 6 children, and she still survived. We are survivors. We will continue to survive. But the lesson here is we should not let the next generation follow, you know, go through the same hardship we went through. We should, you know, make things easy for them. That's a good darsanay.
100%. Thank you so much. You know, wallahi billah, mashallah, mel adag ba dictate. And Dalat, you too. And Dalat, I don't know if you want to add anything else. And I don't want to take you guys too much of you guys' time, right? I really just wanted us to kind of, for the first, you know, episode at least that we're doing here on Clubhouse, to at least, you know, set some sort of standard or precedence of like, this is a problem in our community, and you have 3 adults at one point, you had 5 adults on the stage, all in acknowledgement that this is a problem in our community. Marka waxaa ku dhihi lahaa dadka Soomaaliya oo qurbaha joogo, walaalo, we cannot fix anything by keeping it to ourselves or ignoring it or sweeping it under the rug. We will never, ever, ever come up with solutions if we never acknowledge there is a problem. This is not something, and for anyone who is listening, and this may be something that you have, anyone listening, this may be something you might have gone through. This may be something you may have experienced, right? But at the end of the day, to know that, can you guys hear me? Hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just breaking up.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, no. So my point is that I just want whoever is listening to know this isn't a problem that is specific to you. This is a problem all across the board. This is something that many millions of people live with day in and day out. And it is not something that you yourself alone can solve, because you may be able, as a man or a woman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may bless you in a way where that you're able to solve the problems of your household. But you know what? There's problem in the community. There's problem in society at large. And for the community and the society's problem to be solved, each and every household has to be solved their problems. And the point of the matter is that not every household is the same. Not everyone in those households is the same. Not everyone is strong enough to do this on their own. So that's marka garab la dahayo. Garab marka lo bahan yahay. Marka walalo waxaan leeyahay, don't, you know, you don't have to, you can speak out you can try to raise awareness. You can try to be part of the solution without giving up too much of your personal life. You know, we still have to act within according to the deen. Muslim banahay. You're not, you know, there's some things or halal ku ahayn, that is prohibited for you to speak about your household or your spouse out in public. But saying that we have a problem is not haram, especially if your intention is to make that solve that problem and then inshallah ta'ala hopefully help others who are going through the same problem. I'm going to give a quick my idea. What comes to my heart when I hear about this, right? And I want to naso gabgabeyo inshallah ta'ala because I really love Dhalad in general and Prince and love for being here and then Layla and Mazim, but I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you guys got things going on. This is what I want to say. My solution that I can think of is if we are Muslims, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already gave us the answer and He has already given us the medicine to every sickness. He has given us the solution to every problem, and that is the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, I believe if you as a man, right, because you are the head of that house. I've seen a lot of brothers who are men and they put their foot that I'm the man of the house, you know, so the mother has to be, you know, follow in my footsteps. She has to listen to what I say. But guess what? Once there's a problem in the household, once a child once a child starts to act out and rebel, you know what that same man who says he's the head of his household does? He blames the mom. So Marka, how can you blame the mom when you yourself are claiming to be the captain of that ship? The captain of that ship takes responsibility for everyone on the ship, not just when it's beneficial to him at that moment. So waxaan leeyahay ragga community-ga ku jira oo Somali ah oona Muslim ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted you with women and He has entrusted you with children, right? And it is your responsibility to guide and to help. To not give knowledge to your wife and children. Only Allah guides, but it is your responsibility to give that message and to teach. So aniga waxaan leeyahay, as a man, come into your household, pray with your children. Salat the horta, number one, pray with them. Don't tell them to go pray. Pray with them. Don't tell them to read the Quran. Read the Quran with them. Don't tell them to do their homework. Do their homework with them. And even if you are no longer a part of that household, in the sense of physically being a part of that household, understand that you will always be a part of that household and you still have the responsibility to pray with those children. And it is still your responsibility to teach those children. It is still your responsibility to know about the children's wellness, also the mother of that children. Because if you don't show love and compassion to the mother of those children, I promise you one day these children will get older and no matter what your side of the story is, they are not going to show any love and compassion to you. There is no man that I know on Rak'ah, and I see you, General. There's no man I know on Rak'ah that would not lay his life down for his mom. Marka waxaa leedahay, you're going to abuse this woman or disrespect this woman in front of this young boy who's one day going to become a man and you're going to expect this man to respect you. That's not going to work out for you that way. So walalo dinta aadi aad halagu laabto and make sure carruurtaada iyo reerkaada inaad ku edbiso diinta Islaamka, and even if it's not your reer anymore, those kids, bro, make sure waa gacanta inaad ku haysaa walaalo. General, go ahead, walaal.
Black Niho, mashallah Niho, wax fiican baa ka hadashay. I just wanted to point out that how what you said about raising your children within the deen and teaching them how to pray and all these responsibility as a mother and as a father. You know, a lot of the time the mothers they tend to put that responsibility on the father, but it's a shared responsibility, Mandela. You know what I mean? Yeah, also, waxaan dhahayaa, and you know, when we want to change a society, Ilahi teaches us that should always start, you know, with us. So Ilahi says, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim." Allah does not change the condition of the ummah until they change within themselves. So if you want to change the next generation, It should start from you. It should start from your sons and your daughters. Change them, and that's the next generation. Ma garatay? Also, waxaan dhahayaa a lot of the times hadda like walaalkeen ma dhaweyn meesha ka hadlayay wuxuu dhahay, and annaga we went through the tough stage, and our siblings who were younger than us had too much love. A lot of the parents, mothers, especially the ciyaalka way kulkuliyaan too much, and it's not nice. Like too much love, too much love. Ilmaha wuxuu noqonayaa spoiled. You don't do that to a kid. You know what I mean? Sometimes, wax tough love dhaha jira a lot of times, but you gotta do it in between. Ma garatay? That's why we are ummah of wasat, ummah within moderation. wax kasta خير الأمور أوسطها برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The best is so we can't just give too much and we can't give too less. Ma garatay? Marka taana waa ku darsan lahaa, and like the brother said, ciyaalkaaga inaad diinta bartid, it's xuquuqul waalidayn. xuquuqul waalidayn is basically someone who's maxaa la dhahaa harsh and who has no respect to his parents, and that comes from when parents separate. What they tend to do is, like the brother said, is they bargain with their children. So ilmihii aabihiis baa lagu dirayaa, and then aabihiis buu nacayaa. But that kid does not know when you become a uququl walidain. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not enter Jannah. The kid who's mataqana walidkiisa uu caasiga ku caaqa ku aha janna ma gelayo. So gabdhaha masha Allah way kala fiican yihiin. Gabdhaha qaar waxa weeyaan, no matter how much ay kala isku xumaadaan maxaa la dhahaa ninkooda ama ciyaalkooda aabahood, still way xiriiriyaan aabaha ka dambeeya bay dhahaan, waana gabdhaha fiican, and that's the ones ciyaalkooda fiicnaado. But when you try to use your children as a as a tool, then ilmihii baa meesha ka baxaya, and that's when ciyaalka halkay mataqaana ay ku halaabaan. Intaasaan ku darsadaya.
Jazakallah khair, General. Thanks so much, brother. Dhalad, go ahead, bye.
haddaan wax yar ku daro horta hore ani waalidka waxaan kula talin lahaa waxay tahay sadaqo sadaqada la baxa, whatever it takes. It's gonna save your children, it's gonna save you. Sadaqo is number one, honestly. And ilaahay subxaana watacaala inaa ku xirnaatid, you're trying your best. hooyooyinkeena qurbaha joogaa, we trying our best, honestly. hooyo intentionkeeda yahay inuu ilmaheeda xumaada ma jirto. We trying our best, but remember, you're not alone. You're not the only one. You're not the only one who's struggling. A lot of sisters are struggling same way that you do. Speak up. We can help each other. Yeah, Soomaalida waxay yidhaahdaan ilka wada jir bay wax ku gooyaan. Haddaan iswada caawino, isu sheego, aynaan isku caayin, we can achieve something. We can help our youth. Dhallinyaradeena jeelasha ma ku jirayaan, maxaan ku idhahdaa, qabuuraha ma ka buuxsamayaan. Marka qurbaha labadaas baa nafta noo keenay. Ma fahantay? Marka please sadaqa la baxa, and you're not alone. Ilmaheena anaga waa isu baahannahay. We need their support, we need their help, and we have to help them. Markay yar yihiin, markay weyn yihiin, and communication is the key to communicate with them. Or wax kasta lagala hadlo, anything lagala hadlo, open that door so they can feel safe and secure to come up to you and tell you what's going on out there. Because by the time they reach teenage and you never open that door for them, they're not going to come up to you and tell you. They're going to go up to the next person, another leader who's going to lead them. We have to train our children how to become a leader, because we tell them what to do. You don't need to tell them what to do. You got to raise them from the basic, saying that make a choice, make your mind. What do you want? You have to pick. So alhamdulillah, but please, sadaqa la bah, and you're not alone. Remember that you're not alone. Speak up. You're always gonna get help from wherever you go. If you say that I need help, we're good at helping each other. And please, when you help a sister, please, haku aini tomorrow. Please, haku aini tomorrow. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. If you see gabdho dhalinyaro ah, ishek or maxaan need help them. Don't say bad thing, because what goes around comes around. Afkeena dhibaato noogu timaada. Afkeena ilmaheena cuqubo ugu dhacda. Afkeena waxaan ku niraahno ama ku eedeyno dadka ayaa dib noogu soo noqda. Please use a very good words and help sisters who is struggling with kids. Waa ka baxay.
Jazakallah khair, Dhalad. Wallahi billah, I don't know any other way to end this, but what Dhalad just said as the last statement, being, if your children don't find leadership in you, they're going to seek leadership somewhere else. And you know, the way you would lead your children to goodness, you cannot expect everyone they ever come across to lead them to goodness the same way. Keep that in mind. Ka fikir what that means. Han isku laabano. Marka walaalo, marka General, I'm going to give you any last words hadaad leedahay before we close it off, inshallah ta'ala.
niyahow may niyahow aniga intaas iga tahay. Thanks for having us. Maxaa la dhahaa horta waxaan wax laga hadlay u baahan tahay. Wax yar baa kusi darsan lahaa on kolley maadaama opportunity-gan isiisay. Niyahow Soomaalida haddaan nahay wax kasta waan qarsanaa. You know what I mean? We have this issue where every problem, I remember there was a time there was maxaa la dhahaa Soomaalida ciyaalkooda mataqaanaa few of them baa waxay sameeyeen just like waxyaala little things bay sameeyeen like crimes iyo balaayay sameeyeen, and then what we wanted to do was to bring the children together and their parents and to talk about the issue, and then each mother would say, my child was not part of this, he had nothing to do with it, it was the other child. Dhaca albaabka la soo xiranaya. So mid walba mahaysaan waa la qarinaya, especially mothers what they do, hadduu ilmahoodu dhib soo sameeya aabaha laga qarinaya. So ilmihii waxa sidii loo qarinayo, the kid wuxuu gelayaa a stage where waxba laga qaban karin. So waxaad qarsatana wuu ku qarsadaa waa Soomaali dhahdaa. So let's talk about these issues. Waxayaan la qarsanin, wax ceeb la dhahaa ma jiro, waxaan stigmarkan iyo waxaan la saarayo, waxaan hala iska daayo, mataqaanaa, whatever kusoo food saara ka hadla, intaasaan ku darsanaya anigana.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, General. Dhalad, did you want to make any last words, any last statement aan ku leedahay dadkii walaalahaada? I think Dhalad maybe we're mashquulshay wax yar. So I'm gonna give you guys salam. Once again, I want to thank you so much, General Dhalad, for being here. Layla, Mazim, Wanicheda. All I can say is, Walalo, be good to one another, whether you're together or not together. And I promise you, Allah al-Adim, gaalada ba fahmay. Waxay ku leeyihiin a family that prays together stays together. Gaalada halahaas bay garteen. Nothing else hadday garanin. Waxay garan waayeen Ilaahi subxaana wa tacaala inuu waaxid yahay. Waxay garan waayeen inuu Rasuulullah alayhi wasallam Ilaahay soo diray. Bay garan waayeen. Laakiin waxay garteen a family that prays together stays together. So this is something for us to reflect on, and I'm going to end it there because this is not supposed to be a lecture, and I don't want to lecture you guys. I am not a child psychologist in the least. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a trained professional in relationships and marriage and children and household. But when I see a problem that's affecting those that I love, meaning my people, I feel the need that it is my responsibility as a man to speak on it, just as General as a man spoke on it, just as Dalat as a lady spoke about it, just as Prince as a man spoke about it. So, Walalo Marka, I bid you farewell. This has been another episode of the Lies They Tell podcast. Thank you for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.